Welcome everyone to 77 Questions with Chesa Dental Care. And this month we have Dr. Diksha Batra with us. Hello ma'am, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. Thank you so much.
I'm good too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
It's my pleasure, absolutely.
So are you ready for 77 questions?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, let's start this. Where are you from?
I'm from Mumbai.
One thing you love about Mumbai?
Well, people don't like this, but I love the weather.
Favorite Mumbai street food?
Has to be chaat, right?
Yeah. Your go-to place in Mumbai?
Bandra, because I live in Bandra, so I love the streets of Bandra.
Do you cook?
Sometimes I wouldn't call myself a chef, but yeah, I do like it sometimes.
Do you like to travel?
Oh, I love to travel. Absolutely, my first passion.
Favorite vacation spot?
I'd have to say it's Maldives because my husband loves it and we've already been there 4 times. So it's my favorite, not by choice, but by compulsion.
Okay. One thing you enjoy the most during vacation?
I think vacations are amazing because you just rediscover yourself with different people, places, activities. So I think what's not to enjoy? I love everything about a vacation.
That's true. Are you a tea lover or a coffee lover?
I would say earlier I used to be a die-hard chai fan, but now with the recent writing of my book, I think I've been chai, coffee, bring whatever. I'm just a caffeine addict now.
Oh, okay. Which is your favorite season and why?
Oh, it'll have to be the rain because the rainy season, I think, is nature communicating with us. The 1 minute it's clouds, the next minute it's a rainbow. So I think it's the most vibrant season.
Yeah, and Mumbai rains are beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah, especially when you're indoors, not when you have to battle the traffic outside.
Yeah, that's true. What kind of music you enjoy the most?
So I'm a split personality when it comes to music. It's I love the old school jazz bands and all of that, but there's another part of me that loves EDM and all the fast-paced music. So I end up going for a lot of concerts that way.
Okay. Any movie or TV show recommendation?
TV shows. I think I've grown up watching Apprentice, which is where Mr. Trump used to be the star. I
Yeah.
just really like reality TV shows. I think right from Selling Sunset to even Money Heist, which is drama. So I would say either reality TV or maybe drama is my genre of entertainment.
Okay. Are you an adventurous person?
Again, I'm adventurous in life, but when it comes to adventure sports, then my husband takes the lead. He's made me do everything from scuba diving to scaling an ice-capped mountain to, I think, river rafting or anything dangerous, you name it, and he's made me do it. Not by choice, but I have thoroughly enjoyed these experiences.
That's really cool. Are you early bird or night owl?
Oh, completely. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a complete early bird. I'm 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. club, if you call it. So
Yeah.
when I work for that.
Your favorite subject in school?
Um, it would have to be, I think, biology and history. I even loved English. I loved writing from when I was a child.
Okay.
These 3 subjects were my best.
One has to be nerd to become a doctor. How true is that?
I don't think so. I think you've got to be hardworking, a little brilliant, in terms of what you bring to the table. But I would say nerdilliant, if not nerdy, but definitely a combination of nerdy and brilliant.
Okay. How did you get into dentistry?
Long story. It was against my wishes initially because I was always determined to be a journalist. But in India, how it goes. Normally, if you are a good student, then you have to kind of bear the brunt of it. And my parents really wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, the classic Indian culture. So that's how I got into dentistry. But once I got into it, it was absolutely love at first sight.
Okay, that's wonderful. From which college have you done your BDS?
My college was D.Y. Patil.
What was your favorite subject in dentistry?
Orthodontics.
Did you have a favorite teacher in college?
Oh, I have so many to name, and I think I wished all of them just on Teachers' Day. But it would be unfair to name just one.
Okay.
Just too many.
From where have you done your masters?
Also, D.Y. Patil School of Dentistry.
What was the subject of your masters and why did you choose that subject?
So I loved prosthodontics when I actually started practice. I think it was amazing. Also because it's instant smile creation, instant replacement of teeth. That's what I fell in love with, that instant creation of smiles with prosthodontics. That's why I like it.
Okay. Most memorable moment from your college life?
Oh, this is going to be hard to pull out one, but I think some of the best memories are when you're outside the classroom, not really inside, and this
Yeah.
is a first venture. So actually, the most memorable, impressionable moment was when we were having our college fest, and we had Sonu Nigam performing the next morning, and we were just getting everything together that night, and we had pulled this huge crowd to watch this performance, and I think it was a milestone for a 20-year-old at that point. So I think I remember that very clearly. That was the one thing given to us to do, and we could totally achieve it. So it was my first real world experience.
Okay, talking about college fest, were you more studious or more into extracurricular activities?
I would have to say I was studious with a little bit of a leadership quality. But if you met anyone from my college, they'd definitely call me a nerd.
Okay. If you were not a dentist, what else would you be doing?
Oh, that's interesting. Being an author, being maybe an interior designer. I love good homes and good home landscaping, good homes. So maybe, yeah, either an author or an interior designer.
Okay. Dental education in India versus abroad, your views?
So I am thoroughly a product of Indian education, barring distance programs that I've done abroad. But I think our perspective to education shouldn't be based on location. It should be based on mentors. So, the people teaching us, I think, are more important than, where we are getting that information and knowledge from. And luckily now we have digital education. So, you could be sitting here and listening to somebody from Germany or, Sweden. Doesn't really matter, right? So
Yeah.
I would still say in today's day and age, be where you can perform the best, but absorb knowledge from everywhere.
That's very inspiring. How important are CDE program in your opinion?
Very important, because I think our real world application or real knowledge of dentistry only comes from these CDE programs. What we learn in college is one part of the puzzle. We really piece things together when we are attending these CDE programs, because that's what's actually happening in day-to-day practice.
That's true. Personal skills for dentists, how important are they on scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I think 10 on 10. And this is something that I'm telling you from personal experience, because we train dentists for, developing their personal skills. It's a program called Transform, and it's one of its kind because people don't understand why should someone learn personal skills. But I think before we know technical skills, we'll have to learn to showcase ourselves. To be able to express all that beautiful technical skill we have to be able to do it only through our personal communications, personal branding, and even, being able to express everything that we have to offer to the patient. So it's absolutely essential.
True. Laser and implant dentistry, your thoughts?
Both very important parts of dentistry, and both should be a part of, any kind of contemporary practice now. We require both these treatment modalities to upgrade our practice and, do the cutting edge latest dentistry.
Okay. This question is for, young graduates. How does one get into a program at an esteemed university like you did programs from?
So my exposure to a lot of universities came based on, when I wanted to enhance my clinical skills. A lot of young dentists want to directly migrate abroad, and for people like that who already know it at a very early stage, I would say they need to map out their career in that direction only. There's no point being confused and practicing here, then going there. So if you already know you want to go abroad, then you need to build your CV in that fashion. And if you want to just do enhancement programs from time to time, then ideally do it by approaching the right mentors who either bring these programs to our country or right mentors who are there and will guide you on what is clinically relevant to your skill set. That's how I did it. I also guide a lot of students to go do their DDS or do their MPH. This is how they engineer their CV to be more acceptable abroad. And that's a good approach.
Okay. The most innovative cosmetic dentist in Mumbai 2017. Tell us about your achievements that led to this award.
So I've always believed that awards don't define you, but every time you're recognized, it's fuel for propelling you even more and even forward. So I think I got this award based on the cases that we had done then. We just applied, and sometimes we just get lucky. And I think our focus has always been in trying to create beautiful smiles. And the innovation lies in making all these processes pain-free. And that's why I think we got recognized for that innovative way of looking at smile design.
In 2018, you also won a title of the Women of Substance for Exceptional Work in Dentistry Award. What that meant to you at that point of time, what feelings you had?
I think it was a great responsibility more than anything else, because I believe I'm a champion of the women's cause. Like, I always feel that women have to do it so much harder, stronger, better. It's not easy for them, and so many of us give up on the way. So I always feel like, only a woman can pull a woman up. Instead of pushing each other down, instead of competing with each other, I think we should lend a helping hand. And this award made me realize that responsibility, that if I can be an idol to someone, or I can be a mentor to someone, that will really go a long way in, propelling women's talent, not only in our industry, but overall in our society.
That's true. And talking about women talent, any advice to young women in dentistry?
I would say no compromises. If you step into dentistry, don't be self-sacrificing. Have a clear goal, have a clear purpose. Whoever you marry, whoever you partner with in life, remember that your career is as important, if not more. So while we have to balance things at home and carry out the duties of being a mother or a daughter-in-law or a daughter, it's important that we claim our rights on our career also, because I've always seen that in a class of dentists we are 70% women. Yeah. And when you're looking at practices, there are hardly any women practicing. The situation completely reverses, and I'm strongly against that. I do hope and wish that women find that balance. They find the courage to kind of come out and really achieve their dreams in whatever way and form possible.
You have came so far and achieved so much. What does success mean to you?
Success is, I'm always chasing success. It changes its definition every day. So for all the young people out there, I would say define your own terms of success. We can't compare with anyone else, be it a mentor or be it a colleague or peer. You have to define success in your own terms. I think that's the most important thing. Your success is only your competition with who you were last year or the year before that. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm literally living that in my life. That if I try to compare myself with anyone else, it's not a true comparison, right? The only person I can succeed against is who I was yesterday. I just have to be a better version of myself today. That's true success to me. And if it's at my own terms with proper balance, then I think that is the definition of success.
Okay, that's a wonderful answer. Now let's talk about some areas of your interest. We hear you love writing. How and when did you discover your interest for writing?
It's a long way back. I think at the age of 10, I wrote my first poem, and ever since then, I knew, and coincidentally, it happened to be about rain. So I knew then that something about me was always going to be connected to writing, be it poetry or any other form of writing. So right from that young age, I always had a dream to, be published in some way or form. Earlier, it was a book of poems that I had put together, and now that dream keeps taking new shapes and forms.
Okay. Tell us something about your latest book.
Yes, so my first published book is about to, hit the stand, and I'm really happy and proud of it. In fact, this is not the first book I've written, but it's the first book that I'll be publishing. And it's about the pandemic. And I really hope that this book helps people get back to work, because what we all went through over the last couple of months was life-changing. And for a lot of people, it came with a lot of negativity. So, the book is meant to be not only a positive, uplifting, motivational book, but also a clear step-by-step clinical guide. So I think once you know the right information, going back to practice is really simple. And that's why we've compiled it in a very easy fashion.
Okay, that's a very interesting concept. So do you have your own clinic or you are a consultant?
No, I have my own practice since the last 11 and a half years roughly. And even though I'm a prosthodontist, I never really went down the consulting route. I always had my own practice.
Okay. What is the name of your clinic and how did you come up with that name?
So my clinic is popularly known as Smile Essentials. We recently transitioned to the name The Pain Free Dentist, because when I started practice, 11 years ago, I felt smiles were essential and people should know about focusing on their smiles and, keeping themselves healthy, even orally. But the concept slowly shifted because of the fact that people were so scared, and that came as a real revolution to me. And that's why now my practice goal has become even more clear. Our vision and mission is always to create a world where pain-free dentistry is a reality. That's why we now call ourselves the Pain-Free Dentist.
And most common treatment done at your clinic?
We do all kinds of general dentistry, but with a pain-free twist. I think very commonly we would be doing smile design, we would be doing fillings, we would be doing a lot of restorative work, and pediatric work is also, very, very common in our clinic. Okay. Besides implants and prosthetics, of course.
Okay. How important is social media or online presence for dentists today?
I think very, very important. It's our main and only channel of communication with our peers as well as our patients. So it's our digital signature. At the end of the day, people see you online before they see you in the clinic. So the better you can present yourself there, the more chances you have to be successful in presenting your dental skills to everybody. So I think very, very essential.
Okay. Instagram versus Facebook, your personal favorite?
So I would not have one. I would say I communicate with different audience on both platforms. So Instagram is more my young crowd, but Facebook would be more mature, older crowd. And even the messages are slightly different, where Instagram would be more personal and casual, and Facebook would be more educative, informative, technical. So I think this is how our language of communication is different. But if you were to ask me, I love both platforms equally.
Okay. You are one of the most followed dentists on social media. What do you think is the reason, that so many people follows you? What do you think is the content that you make that connects with them?
I think just being honest. I mean, I don't know if I'm the most followed, but yes, I do have a big family on all my social media channels. And I think the real thing behind that would be that one is we are consistent with our content. We always are there on social media. We don't disappear for weeks on end. The other thing is we are very authentic in our communication. I would not try to present a different image from what I am. Like there's a joke that we always have in my team is that, doctor, can you be more fun? Because
Yeah,
I'm so hardworking and I'm so like work all the time
yeah.
that sometimes it's hard to present any kind of funny side to me. But well, that's what I want my audience to connect with and realize that, you know, if you want to achieve certain things in life, you will have to put in the work. You'll have to sacrifice a few things. And I don't want to fake a picture, you know. So authenticity is very important, I think.
Okay, moving on, you are also one of the founders of RYS University. Tell us about that.
So, RYS University, or as we call it, RISE University, is a venture that my husband and I came up with together. It's an education initiative to teach dentists of today things which they aren't learning otherwise. You know, things which have sort of been missed in our like college education. And I think we identified a few key areas which people have no exposure to, and they really require it in their clinical skills. So it's really bridging the gap between, you know, bookish knowledge to actual practical knowledge. So those are the kind of courses we take up under RISE University.
Your thoughts on giving back to the society.
Well, I don't know if you know, but we do have an NGO, and I strongly believe that everything that we as dentists do, we are very, very privileged, and you know, we really should give back, either in the form of, a lot of people donate money or donate things, but I strongly believe that our service and skill is so important in society that we must donate that as the first thing. So our time as doctors or dentists, that's how I would give back to society.
How would you rate the oral healthcare awareness in India currently?
So I would say it's very low, on the low side, because relative to our population, I think only certain pockets of our country are educated, especially the urban areas are educated about oral health to some extent. But there's a huge rural side where they have absolutely no awareness, and at the same time they don't have access to oral health products. And I can tell you this by personal experience, because we did a campaign for 16 cities all over India where we donated toothbrushes and toothpaste and, you know, educated kids to brush their teeth well. And that's when we realized how rare that toothbrush and toothpaste was for them. So I think we really need to do a lot more to get oral health promotions done.
Any small steps or simple steps that dentists can take to give back to the society or spread awareness about oral health?
I think like just even simple awareness programs, which are now even possible to do online, would be something that would really help society. And I would urge young dentists, if they're watching this, to connect with us for our NGO, Angel Dentist Network, because Angel Dentist Network is all about this community of dentists who are working towards the betterment of oral health. And this could be in the form of awareness programs, or this could be in the form of actual treatments that are carried out in camps. And we've been doing this for almost 5 years now. We've had more than 1,000 dentists volunteer with us. So, you know, the more the merrier. If anyone wants to give back in the form of like their own service, I think this would be a great platform, and we've built it for these dentists itself.
Okay. Dental phobia is a common yet ignored phenomena. What motivated you to step into that concept?
I think just the need, like every other patient, imagine, comes in and talks about how scared they are of going to the dentist. I mean, these are a big man, 6 feet tall, also shivers in front of us, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, how did we as an entire community miss this? How did we not realize that dental phobia had to be addressed? We talk about implants, we talk about, you know, full mouth rehabs, we talk about the works in terms of technicals. But when it comes to something so basic, that if my patient is going to be scared to accept treatment, even if I have the best technology, how can I treat my patient? He's not going to accept the care that I have to give him.
Yeah.
So that's how it basically came about.
Okay. When and how you introduced pain-free dentistry in India?
So it started about 8 years back. in my practice itself, and we decided to stop practicing with drills, injections, blades, all the things that scare patients. We completely stay away from them. We try and replace these things with technologies which are more patient friendly. So, it wouldn't be a normal injection that we'll end up giving the patient, but we have other forms of anesthesia. I think a lot of people are aware of these digital anesthesia. It's not that our community is not aware of it, but what we did was a directed effort towards making every part of the practice completely pain-free. And this came with, the dire need that patients felt. In fact, patients are so happy to see that somebody has noticed that, we are scared of this or we are scared of that, that the patient acceptance now has gone up so much in our practice.
Okay. And were there any challenges when you initially introduced this concept?
The challenges still continue, and the biggest challenge is to say that I am the pain-free dentist. In fact, we know the marriage of dentistry and pain is age-old, right? So you can't claim that everything's going to be pain-free. But the reason we've made that claim in good faith is to make the patients understand that we will do everything in our means to make this experience different from causing you pain, or different from the last root canal you had or the last extraction you had. We will make sure that you are like 99.9% comfortable, and if that 0.1% pain has to happen, that's something that the patient will gladly even take, because they understand that you've really gone out of their way. You've gone out of, an extra mile for them.
Your personal favorite treatment to practice?
Okay, so I would, if you ask me my love subject, Dr. Rajiv Verma recently taught me the concept of a love subject. I do smile makeovers as a passion. Like, I don't even call it work anymore. For me, it's just art. And the second most important or exciting part of my profession is, of course, implant dentistry. So both of these go hand in hand.
Smile makeover, art or science?
Oh, it's definitely both. Because if you just do it as an art, you can't get function. You have to be artistic within the bounds of science.
Do you also teach?
Yes, absolutely. And I love teaching, I love mentoring, and it has taken many forms, maybe as a teacher in different subjects. But I think one of my favorite subjects to teach has always been, practice management, things which are soft skill related, technical skills, of course. One-on-one, I've taught and mentored many, many dentists.
3 things that have changed in the Indian dental industry over past 1 decade.
Over the last decade, yes, I think we have gone digital to a large extent. Now all our patient appointment bookings happen online. Our patients look for us online. So there's been a huge shift in terms of the way patients contact us. Earlier it used to be word of mouth. Now I think it's completely becoming digitized. And the same digital shift we are also seeing in our practices currently, where it comes to using new technology. So I think technology is upgrading at a very fast rate, and I'm happy about that, because we definitely need that in dentistry. And I think another thing that may have changed is the type of treatments that we give in now. Like, everything is genuinely becoming easier to practice pain-free. 10 years ago when I was on this journey, I didn't find the right gadgets, but now it's become easy. Like, I can literally recommend people to buy certain things, and that would make their practice more pain-free.
Now, a few questions about yourself. One goal on your bucket list for the future?
I have this one idea that I feel when I'm maybe 60 or 70, when I step into a practice, a dental practice, fear and phobias should be a thing of the past. Like, people should no longer associate dentistry and pain. I don't know how much it will happen or at what age it will happen, but this is definitely something that I'd want to see before I die.
Okay. And what is that one thing in life that you are most excited about right now?
For right now, I won't lie. It's my book launch. I'm super excited. We release on this Sunday, 13th September. and it's a surprise. I'm just letting out the cat out of the bag only for you guys. But yeah, I think that's got me really excited.
We are really excited about that too now. What is your success mantra?
Um, I think my success mantra has been, if I could be satisfied while achieving my goals, I think that has always led me to be happy. If otherwise success is not doesn't really feel like success. So instead of really looking for the destination to make me happy or feel successful, I feel if the journey is equally satisfying, then I call it a true success. So I obviously veer away from this mantra from time to time, but I keep reminding myself that remember to be happy and satisfied along the way.
And 3 achievements in your life that you are most proud of.
Okay, I'm not very, I like to be humble, or I like to call myself humble at least. So 3 achievements that I'm proud of would probably be, the first one would be where I went and conducted a camp in Ladakh with the help of a very efficient team, and we made dentures, and I thought it was totally impossible for me to do this, but I think it really was a life-changing experience for me, where we could help people in a remote area of the world. And the next thing I would be really proud of, which happened in lockdown again, is launching my first online program. So I think that was really a milestone where we launched a program on dental team training. I think it's a one-of-a-kind program because people don't usually talk about team training. People are very, they're talking about all kinds of other programs. So this is one of a kind. And the second thing and last thing, I think, the third thing would be hopefully my book. So I think these are the 3 things that I'm really proud of.
Any advice for young graduates who want to practice in recent times?
Yeah, I think I have a message for the young graduates where instead of them feeling like there's a lot of competition in dentistry and there's a lot of, it's saturated, I would just want to tell them one thing, that if you remember to innovate and do things slightly differently instead of following a set formula, think out of the box and try to make your mark in a different way in dentistry. There's a lot of need. There are a lot of unexplored avenues and a lot of demand, especially in our country. Imagine 1 billion people with 32 teeth. We will never run short of work, but it's just that we don't realize that we're not using those untapped areas of potential. So that's my message for the young guys.
Okay, we are moving towards the end of our interview. So last 2 questions are your views on Chase Academy.
I think it's a very unique initiative, especially by a company that's otherwise technological. So I'm sure it's being headed by some very futuristic entrepreneurs. I think Dr. Leela Ramani are doing really a good job with, innovating in the dental fraternity. So thank you from all of us doctors for you to give us a platform to engage and grow.
And your thoughts on our 77 questions interview format. How did you like that format?
Oh, I loved it because I'm sure it gives people a lot of thought. And I have probably not been quizzed about myself so much, so I learned a few things along the way. So I think it's a cool concept and it makes for an interesting watch. So I think good luck with that, and I'm sure a lot of doctors are going to enjoy watching people's interviews. So thank you for this initiative.
Few advice from your side to dentists, to protect themselves and their staff from COVID.
Oh, I've got the whole book for them. So I would say at this point, it's very important that all of us don't get intimidated by this challenge. And as we've seen throughout history, that viruses and pandemics will keep coming to challenge us. But it's only an indication for us to make ourselves better, to go back to practice with systems and protocols instead of arbitrary, haphazard work. So I think this has come to us to teach us something, and we can go back empowered instead of, getting shying away from this challenge. So my message and what my book says also is optimism through systems. if you can follow the right systems, there is nothing that can touch you. And there were so many practices that kept themselves open throughout the lockdown. We just have to be one of those practices.
Thank you so much, Dr. Diksha Batra, for giving time to us. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. Same here.